So if you're guiding these people and you're making these sort of recommendations, how do we make sure that it's not medical services? First question is, what are you doing? How are you doing it? How are you communicating what you're doing? And what are you getting people to sign? If you don't have the necessary qualifications or certifications, making sure that you're not doing those types of things. Consulting with a lawyer is really, really important just for that, because it doesn't matter how awesome your waiver is. It doesn't matter how great your online course agreement is. You'll be negligent. You'll be at fault. It would be very, very difficult to help protect your assets in that particular issue.
You are the well-being wisdom warrior, the heartfelt healer,
the luminary leader,
the health harbinger,
the shaman, the witch, the guru,
the guide of humanity to an embodied, enlightened future.
Welcome to the Well Pro Show, the podcast for wellness pros,
where your wellness lifestyle is your core leadership strategy.
Experience the camaraderie of collaborative colleagues,
where your job as a wellness pro is to guide the transformation.
You are the resistance, the future, the way forward.
You are the community counselor, the change maker.
The Well Pro Show, brought to you by futurist thought leader Kate Stillman and the team at Wellness Pro Academy. Made for you, by us.
Hello, everyone. It's Kate Stillman with Wellness Pro Academy, and I'm here with Corey Sterling of consciouscounsel.ca. And the fun part about this conversation is that we're both 2.5 hours away from each other in Mexico, and we just figured that out. Corey's in Guadalajara, I'm in Punta Mita, and we've both enjoyed playing on the ocean with like a freedom lifestyle and built our work and life in a way that it's easy to stay connected to Dharma, I would say. Does that sound true to you, Cody? Corey?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. My friends call me Cody, so it's all good.
Oh.
Yeah, Kate, no, it's a treat to be connected, and we were super, super close to each other. If we knew, I'm sure we'd be chilling and doing some form of water activity together. But instead, it's just we'll have to suffice being on electronic devices.
Yeah, we will do that. So Corey's team reached out, and he is a lawyer and he works with heart-centered businesses. And I needed to talk to a lawyer about the Detox certification I'm building for Wellness Pro Academy. I had a certification with yoga health coaching for over a decade that I was leading and guiding. And now what I found in building the Detox certification is that this is kind of another level. Because with yoga health coaching, what we're coaching people to do is basically circadian rhythm habits, and they're not nearly as invasive as detox practices, which takes it to a new level. And so some part of my natural self-defense mechanism was you need to protect yourself, and as you're teaching other people to do this. So I was like, great. Corey reached out, conscious counsel. That's what I need, some conscious counsel. So I figured we could do this as a good example of what people like me who are either building certification programs or building clubs or building online courses that are teaching people to do things. In this case, I'm teaching other people to guide detoxes. And I wanted to know what they need to know about their liability and what I need to know about my liability, and how your business works with people like us.
Cool. I'm happy to explain. Firstly, it sounds really cool what you're doing, and there definitely are some legal issues to be aware of. So the big thing when it comes to sort of any form of detox, one of the first questions is what are your qualifications and scope of practice? Right. So if you're guiding these people and you're making these sort of recommendations, how do we make sure that it's not medical services? Right. That's a really, really big distinction that needs to be taken care of. So first question is, what are you doing? How are you doing it? The second issue is sort of, how are you communicating what you're doing, and what are you getting people to sign? So I'm going to break it down into a couple of different areas. And at any point, obviously, Kate, you just interrupt me when you have a question. The big thing to know, and also don't let me forget to talk about intellectual property and certifications, because there's a lot that needs to be protected when you do that. So if we just start on a liability point, the legal risk here is that you are making recommendations to people that could be construed as being medical in nature. And it also is possible, depending on what your qualifications are, whether or not you're actually allowed to be making these recommendations or not. So the first thing you want to make sure of is whatever you're telling people to do, that whatever your qualifications are, that you're permitted to do that. And also, if you don't have the necessary qualifications or certifications, making sure that you're not doing those types of things. So first and foremost, consulting with a lawyer is really, really important just for that, because notwithstanding whatever is signed, if you are clearly offering something that is deemed medical services without those qualifications, doesn't matter how awesome your waiver is, it doesn't matter how great your online course agreement is, you'll be negligent, you'll be at fault. It would be very, very difficult to help protect your assets in that particular issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
awesome.
is there like a good list of like how do people find those?
It's very convoluted. Unfortunately, it's convoluted because a lot of the times it will depend on the jurisdiction from which you are operating the services or the jurisdiction from where you're based. And it also will depend what your qualifications are, right? So being a holistic nutritional coach, being a health coach, all of these sorts of things, it's a gray area, and this is how my law practice exists. And because it's a gray area, everyone needs sort of like specific guidance about what they want to do and how they want to do it, right? So yeah, unfortunately, it's not like, oh, here's what you can do, here's what you cannot do. It involves a bit more research than that, and it's obviously specific to what your qualifications are. Yeah.
So I'm certifying other wellness pros, and they're going to have a number of different. Like some people will be doctors, right? Some people will be the most like woo-woo energy healer, light worker, etc. Right? So it's a huge, huge spectrum in Wellness Pro Academy. And so for if what I'm wondering is because there's like health coach insurance out there, right? That's covering a variety of people that are under some umbrella called health coaching. Right. And so it's if they're not doing things to people, but it's more sharing information. How does that work?
Well, it's about posturing, and it's about framing, and it's about what the legal agreements say. So typically for a health coach who's coming up with a detox, we set them up with a package of 5 agreements. And the whole idea is that within those 5 agreements, you're covered for what you do online, you covered for the program that you create, you're covered for the intellectual property, you're covered for the waiver of liability, and you have your general disclaimer and scope of practice taken care of. And I've worked with over 1,100 clients in my law firm. The law firm's 7 years old. So if you're unqualified and you're not offering medical services, it's all about, framing it in a way that you're offering optimal health recommendations, and you're not curing, you're not diagnosing, you're not treating. It's like none of that stuff. You have to be so crystal clear in your documentation about that. If you are a medical professional and you're doing this, then you just have to be a little bit careful, because now you're offering medical services. And with that, there's a whole other, it opens a whole other Pandora's box of, yes, these are other things that you're allowed to do, but now there are certain rules that you have to follow in doing that, right? So typically when I work with medical professionals, it would be someone who is an MD or who is a doctor or who is a dentist, and they want to start a separate business with a different scope of practice under a new LLC. And that's really that's the way that we set it up for them and how we do it for those professionals. For the health coaches, they don't have those other qualifications, so they're not really at risk of that. Right. It's really important to separate. And then also, Kate, just as an FYI, the really big thing for you in teaching other people to run a detox is like an indemnity agreement, which basically says that like you in people, in exchange for them working with you, in the event that they do something wrong or they get sued or they get held responsible, that they indemnify you and that you will not be responsible for anything that they do, right? Because the way that lawsuits work is it's usually what we call a fishing expedition, where someone screws up, there's a coach that does something they're not supposed to do, someone gets injured, that person who gets injured is going after everybody. And they're just like, they're working with a lawyer on contingency fee, and all they're trying to do is follow the money. So if you're also creating the program and facilitating that for others, you have to be really, really careful about that stuff.
Okay, great. And that would be true of anyone who's certifying people in in the health wellness world.
Yeah.
And they're, yeah.
Exactly. So to sort of to bring everything back a little bit and come with a big picture perspective. Okay, let's say I'm running a detox. I'm not you. I'm not the organization that's teaching people to run the detox. When you're running the detox, like I mentioned, there's 5 agreements that you need to be included. So that's the waiver of liability, and I'll just start with that. So a waiver of liability basically says, hey, this is what we're doing together. This is how we're doing it. These are the risks of what we're doing. In the event that any of these risks materialize, this is how, what injuries you could suffer or how your life might change. And before we allow you to participate in our program, you agree not to sue us or hold us responsible for any damages that you may suffer.
Okay. And so is that they're signing 5 agreements to do the detox, or is it compacted into like one?
It would be, the privacy policy and the general health disclaimer would go on your website. There's a social media disclaimer, which goes on your link tree, or which is also goes on your website. Then they're signing a service agreement and they're signing a waiver of liability. So they're only signing 2 agreements at checkout, but they have to sign those agreements before you accept payment from them.
Okay. So does that go then just in terms of online, like that goes into the shopping cart process? Like, is there a particular technology that you have people use?
We have clients that use Waiver King or DocuSign or something like that. Mm-hmm. But the waiver of liability is a really, really big one. And that's the one that you got to make sure that it has to be a separate document, because the waiver of liability is someone signing away legal rights. So you have to be really mindful of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's all before checkout. That's actually kind of a cool way. I like the idea of, rather than seeing it as like as a barrier. I've been online since 2001.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot come and go, a lot with internet marketing. It's like you want to always decrease the barriers to purchase, right? And this is saying like when you're going to actually you're going to put intentionally some barriers to purchase in place. And to me that, it's like at first it's like, oh, that could really affect people's numbers in a certain way. But what I am liking about it is like you can actually help people like, hey, just do this first and see if it's right for you before you purchase. And then in a way it can help, it can help the lead understand even more of what they're getting into. More point of purchase.
Two points on that. So like I said, I've worked with over 1,100 clients. I can say it has happened less than 5 times. And that's like my clients have massive communities, so they're doing big things with a lot of people. It very, very, very rarely happens that they send me a mail and they're like, "Hey, Corey, someone had questions and didn't want to sign this before they signed up." So right. My invitation is that it's the friction is probably less than you would imagine it to be, and secondly, legally, it's like that's the proper order and the proper process. Because if someone pays you, and then you try to get them to sign something afterwards, they can get a refund or say, oh, when I completed the purchase, I wasn't made aware that these were the risks. And like what I'm prescribing is like all of the complications and however confusing all of this is, I've gone through it so many times that it's just like, this is the legal answer. So
yeah,
you sort of like, the key is just to buy in and release into it and be like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to get these agreements. I'm going to do this. And then if there's an issue, I shoot Corey an email, and it's not my problem. It's Corey's problem. Like, That's what I always say to my clients. Like, if there's someone doesn't want to sign up, or someone has a question about the waiver, someone wants a refund after they've paid, it's like, send it to me, and I'm the one it's my problem. My expectation is not that my clients become lawyers or go to law school. My expectation is that they build awesome businesses and scale it and have a lot of fun. And when there's a legal issue, they send me an email and I'm really good at fixing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? Everyone gets to stay in their lane.
Exactly.
Excellent. So I'll maybe walk through like what happens when people don't do this.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of resistance, right? Especially I'm guessing because you work a lot with people in the wellness, like the holistic wellness community. And this just is like, oh gosh, they don't even want to build their website, let alone right, like deal with the legalities. So we're going to have quite a few coaches or wellness pros, depending on how they label themselves, yoga studio owners, gym owners, doctors, shamans, leading detoxes, and they're going to listen to this part and they're going to be like, I don't want to deal with this. I want to get back to building my detox course.
Yeah, the first thing that I would say, and I'm going to answer directly what happens if they don't do this, but what I'd say is like, the real question is, do you want to do this? And if you want to do it, you want to do it properly. The first lesson I learned as a lawyer that my mentor taught me, he's like, you're going to tell all of your clients they can pay you now or they can pay you later. And what's going to happen is they can practice proactive law or they can practice reactive law. And proactive law is before there's a problem, before there's an issue, if anything comes up, you have customized industry-specific agreements that protect you in the event that there's an issue or a problem or someone wants a refund or complaint or files a complaint against you or wants to sue you or whatever it is. Like let's just quickly walk through that. Someone buys a package of documents, and this has happened many times, okay? One of my clients is a health coach. Someone claims that now they have insomnia by virtue of following the recommendations that were made by the health coach. Damages, can't sleep, can't work, losing all of this money, stress, whatever. I get something like $75,000 for all of this. They have my waiver of liability. They say, hey, Corey, they're freaking out and they're freaking out. We hop on a call. I'm like, cool, no dramas. Send me a copy of the signed agreement and give me the person's email address and I'll write a response on your behalf. So I'd say, okay, hey, person X, I'm really sorry to hear that, you feel you've had some negative experiences in working with my client. Attached is a signed waiver of liability. We told you we were going to be doing ABC. We told you the possibility was ABC. You agreed to not hold my client responsible before they decided to work with you. In provision 8, you signed away your legal right to hold them responsible. Therefore, if you continue to pursue this, we reserve the right to counterclaim against you, plus fees, plus damages, plus all of the stuff. And it goes away. And it went away and it goes away. Because when you're able to demonstrate that you have a strong legal position and that you're protected and you're set up properly, if there's a lawyer who's working on contingency and they look at that agreement, they're going to be like, no, this isn't worth my time because I'm not going to get anything from this. And then if it's the individual representing themselves, they're like, oh, like I didn't know I could possibly lose money if I'm trying to like scare this person or sue this person. And so that's how the situation unfolds. Conversely, when this doesn't happen, and this is like the reactive pay me later situation, exact same situation, exact same set of facts. Client sends me an email, hey, I've been doing this thing. Someone suffered damages or injuries and now they want to sue me. And I always say the same thing whenever a client comes to me with a problem. I'll say, please send me a copy of the signed agreement. In this case, it'll either be A, no signed agreement, or B, it'll be some template that they got from their coach or they got from their mentor. It's always the same. And I'll look through it and I'm like, look, hey, I'm really sorry. You have an extremely vulnerable legal position because you didn't mention ABC. You didn't mention that you were going to be making these recommendations. You didn't mention that these were the possible risks of it. This was an outcome. So then when I'm responding on behalf of that person, I'm not able to, with the same conviction, say the exact same thing. And then once either a lawyer on contingency fee or someone else realizes like, oh, they don't have a strong legal position, then you get into the settlement game and then it ends up costing, 10x of what the original investment for the documents would be. So what I'd say is like, and anyone who's like, first, the question is, what happens if I don't do this? A, if you have other professional licenses, you run the risk of losing it. B, you run the risk of being reported. You run the risk of being sued. You run the risk of having to provide refunds to people that are dissatisfied that you've already provided the services to. And not only that, like when you do try to fix a problem, it's going to be so much more expensive and so much more difficult because your legal position is so much weaker when you started. Does all that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So do some certification programs, let's stay with the health coaching example, provide, like, do you draw up general documents that they can then use with their members, like that their members can also use, or does every single person have to be specific?
Yeah, I don't do that. I've never done that and I won't do that. Just because, like I've said, the success that I've seen in my practice and 1,100 clients, I've never had anyone get sued. Like it's never actually gone through the phase of someone filing against someone else. It has to be specific to your business, specific to what it is that you're doing. Like even something as simple as if you borrow someone else's documents, but you don't name the LLC properly, or you don't include that you do things online or that you pre-record materials. Like I've also been hired to challenge all of these documents. I did that more in the first years of my career. So I won't do it. I only work with clients one-on-one, specific to exactly what they're doing, what their branding is, what their messaging is, the specifics of their business. Yeah, it's just too risky. I won't do it. And I don't think it serves the client well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's clear. Okay, so let's talk about intellectual property and white labeling, right? So yeah.
Okay, so in this situation of building a program, the things that you want to make sure is that anyone who's using your program also signs a licensing agreement. So there's two ways the licensing, there's two ways where it would be relevant. One would be if you're letting people use a trademark. So you come up with a system and you're like, hey, I'm going to go let you use this system. And the system has a name, which is, Kate's Amazing Super Fun Detox. So if you're letting them use that, there have to be rules around how they're allowed to use that. And if they break those rules, you can revoke their permission and, you can clearly demonstrate damages and everything like that. Conversely, if you have a manual that you're giving them where you say like, hey, this is the basis of how you create it and this is what you're going to share with your clients and this is what you're buying from me, you need to have a licensing agreement around the registered copyright. So the process for that is you have to register the program for copyright, you get a certification number, you're saying to someone, hey, I'm letting you use this copyright with this certification number. These are the rules. You can use it for commercial purposes, but you cannot compete with me, or you're not allowed to change the materials, or this or that or the other. Usually also, it's a great way to get recurring revenue because you say to people like, hey, if you want to continue using this every month you pay, 5% of your revenue, or you pay $150 or whichever is greater or whichever is less or anything that you want. But you really, really have to make sure before you just give people access to the materials that you created, whether they're using that particular name or slogan or whatever, or just the materials itself, that it's properly protected and that if someone's using it incorrectly, ultimately you'd be responsible. So you want to protect the intellectual property as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, and I have experience because we did all those licensing agreements with Yoga Health Coaching, and they were coaching a system around a book that I wrote, Body Thrive, which is just based on circadian rhythm habits. And so they could use the system, or they could adapt it. They could rename it. And so we weren't doing it as more of like a franchise. There's this only one way to do this. For me personally, I'm more into wellness pros and their own creative process rather than like, here's the cut and paste version of it.
Yeah, totally.
And so there were a number of things over time. We tried we did the licensing recurring revenue, and I just found that more hassle than it was worth.
Yeah.
And we only, grew to maybe 200 coaches at a time. So it wasn't like, thousands of people using the system. And I really found that, yeah, for me, it wasn't about the license. It was so much less about the licensure, and more about them wanting to either be in a recurring revenue model with mentorship rather than with ownership over the materials or licensing of the materials. And I know that is unusual, but I'm sort of going the same way with the Detox, where I don't necessarily. I just think the way that YouTube's gone, the way that content's gone in general, where we're really paying for attention now, right? We're paying for people to pay attention. And it's so easy to create. It's so easy to be a creator right now, using tools like Canva, et cetera, that I don't feel a need to protect the materials as much as like just get people using them. And again, our recurring revenue is like, you just want to hang out with us and you want our ongoing mentorship. And so that's why you renew in the community is more of that, because they're getting so much value from being in the mentorship community. So with something like that, yeah, how does it, and I'm kind of curious too, if this is happening more as if we just look at like the number of like units of data stored per millisecond for the human race is just like exponentially on that hockey stick growth curve.
Yeah.
And where we are paying we're buying attention more. Like there's a lot more, I would say, wellness pros that are buying advertising now than ever have. If we just look at the numbers on, Instagram ads, Facebook ads, etc., where it's like we're buying people's attention, more than ever, statistically speaking. Like, how does that fit into the whole equation of people needing to create and protect a system?
I think what you're speaking about is a little bit unique, and I think for only in the sense, because I'll just share from my experience.
Yeah.
Typically, where the licensing piece comes up in program creation, for me, it's a lot of teacher trainings.
Mm-hmm.
So a teacher training is where and you know what it is. Pilates, yoga, Reiki, whatever it is, some sort of system where it's saying, hey, I'm going to teach you how to do this.
Yeah.
And then, you're going to go off and you're going to be a certified teacher for my particular, in this, you get this certification, you do this sort of thing. And then you have to make sure, like, one thing that I see often in the yoga space is I'll have a client who runs a yoga teacher training. A yoga teacher goes through it, then takes the manual and creates their own yoga school. Unqualified and just taking all the information. If specifically what you've experienced in your business is that you just want to give people like, hey, cool, you click up a button, you own it, you do whatever you want with it. I want to see it succeed. And what you pay for it is the support from me and my team.
Yeah.
Then the intellectual property, it's less important because the IP is related to a one-time transaction. So you're only selling the IP once and they're doing whatever it is that they want. But then you have something like a recurring membership agreement or an online course agreement or an online community agreement that would be relevant there. So that's what makes sense to me based on what you're saying.
Yeah, I love that. That's exactly what I'm saying. And it really helps clarify, because for me, when I've talked with lawyers before, they're always wanting this licensure. And I think, when I was new to this, it was like, okay, this is how it's done. And then over time, just realizing that all that takes time, like maintaining licensure, collecting fees, tracking people down, all of that is it's a hustle that, it just wasn't effective in my type of business, where it's I'd much rather people just wanted to stay around for the coaching and the mentoring experience. And we have such a high re-enrollment rate based on that. I think we're at somewhere between 70 and 80% of people that just want to stay. That to me, it's like less about, so you can use this ebook or these videos.
Yeah.
And like all these videos, there's more on YouTube that's amazing anyways, every minute. And that's only going to increase in the future.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think in that case, what jumps up for me legally is having something like an online community agreement, which we see most with health coaches.
Yeah, what is
that? It basically is all of the rules around what participation in the group means. And things you have to be careful. And I've had clients who have gotten in trouble with, okay, you have an online community and then other members are giving recommendations to other members that aren't necessarily provided or authorized or made by you, who is the host of all of it.
Yeah.
So especially, diagnosing, treating, like you have to be really, really careful about those things. So that's one thing that's really important. Secondly, it's like having rules of engagement or community expectations, where it's like, hey, this is how we behave. This is what's acceptable.
Yeah.
A lot of issues I've had with clients is wanting to kick someone out of your group, not being able to because you didn't have like a customized specific agreement to what your group is like. And then the person you're trying to kick out saying that they're being discriminated against, or, there's some form of intolerance against what they're doing, where, what I've learned from that to set clients up with is an agreement that says like, hey, we treat each other with respect. We do not encourage or, any racism or bullying or homophobia or any of those sorts of things that like, it doesn't intuitively think for you. You don't think like, oh, I would have, just being mindful and aware of those things. Like, how can you kick someone out if you have to? How do you make sure that, people aren't diagnosing, treating each other? And if they do that, you're not responsible for it. Saying something like only messages, from our official, I don't know, like Facebook member, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
totally. We have like grounds for our groups and guidelines and even like how to show up on the forum. And it's like, and I love the idea of like they're signing all this before they come in. Like they're
Totally.
before there's a point of transaction.
And it's a signed agreement. It's not like, because if it's just like, oh, click it, like joining the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Hey, because that's the highest form of enforceability.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And it's also and I just kind of keep seeing the pros of it's a way of educating in the onboarding process instead of putting it after point of sale. It's creating a sense of professionalism and structure and a assimilation into the training, into the community. As part of the sales process.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So give me a sense in the other, because I'm guessing just by the way that we're going to title this around people that are creating their own certification programs. What are fees like as people go into working with you or just in the field in general to, what should they budget for getting this stuff settled for them?
The way that we do it at Conscious Counsel is the cost of a legal package of 5 documents, like I mentioned, is $3,888. And what that includes is all of the documents customized specific to your business, working with someone on our team. And it also includes a 1-month period of additional unlimited edits, revisions, and support. And the reason why I did that is I used to work at other law firms before I started my own. And the biggest discrepancy and issue with clients was always around pricing. And so what we do is we give that 1-month runway so that, like, hey, we're not charging you extra for any questions that you have. And the thing that I 100% want to make sure is that my clients are using and that they love their agreement. So our law firm we have 370 5-star reviews. We only have 5-star reviews. We've never gotten anything less. And the way that we get to 5-star reviews is we support everyone unconditionally. So we've made it a really simple process where you sign up, you click a link to a type form. It takes 12 minutes to answer questions about your business. In 5 business days, you get a copy in a Google Doc of your agreement. We highlight specific questions for you. We go through the document together. Then we hop on a call to make sure you understand everything. Then the 1-month period of support begins. So there's a lot of time that goes into it on our end. I love what I do. I love making the world a healthier place. And, and for me, working with clients that are operating detoxes, if the topic of this conversation was like, getting people more McDonald's, I wouldn't do the call, right? So,
Right.
Yeah. So detox is, I've done a lot of detoxes myself, and I've done a health coaching program. So yeah, it's about making the world a healthier place and making sure people are legally set up and feel comfortable. And most importantly, like, they have a good relationship with their lawyer. Like, they feel that they want to call their lawyer and they want to chat. Yeah. And that's how we roll.
And if people have multiple offerings, is that 5 documents per thing, or can they be bundled, or is it on an individual basis? Like for someone with a company where they're doing, maybe they're also doing one-on-one things, and then maybe they're doing, like, I think of more of like an Ayurvedic practitioner where they're doing Panchakarma, which is like really in-depth body work, and then they do a group cleanse. Are those 2 different document sets, or can it all just be under one brand?
Like, for example, most of the agreements can be, so like the privacy policy can be, the health disclaimer can be, the way the waiver of liability can be, the social media disclaimer can be, but the service agreement depends how different the scope is, right? So if you're doing the same thing and part of it's group and part of it's one-on-one, we could find a way to do it. But if they're just like, if one of them's a retreat and then one of them is one-on-one sessions, then it would be more difficult. But I always try to do it as best as possible. But the answer is it depends on how different the services are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. I'm glad we had a chance to connect, Corey. Next time in the surf or the wind.
In the lineup. We're going to be in the lineup the next time, Kate. You'll be in the lineup.
Yay.
Are you a podcast listener ready to guide your wellness business to more profit? We have an exclusive offer just for you, introducing our unique abilities profit consultation. Sign up today at wellnesspro.academy/unique. Don't miss this opportunity to unlock your profit potential. During this personalized consultation, your expert coach will guide you to discover just how much money you're leaving on the table from an outdated business model. Say goodbye to trial and error and hello to tailored guidance that leverages your unique abilities. Your success coach will work closely with you to create a winning strategy that aligns with your strengths and vision. Don't let the challenges of running a wellness business hold you back from more profit any longer. Up-level your leadership with our actionable strategies. Overcome hurdles. Receive innovative solutions. Take that crucial step towards building the profitable wellness business you deserve. Schedule your free Unique Abilities profit consultation today. But hurry, this exclusive offer is only free for our valued podcast listeners. Don't wait. Unleash your unique abilities and unlock your true profit potential. It's time to make your mark in the world of wellness. Sign up today at wellnesspro.academy/unique. Namaste and have a great day.